Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode with Bits and Bytes Productions. I'm your host, Jeff. Today, we're going to be disassembling this Jacot tool. What it does is it reconditions pivots on mechanical watches. So, this hand-driven lathe is quite interesting. For example, what this tool is designed to do in the hands of a skilled operator is to remove amounts as small as 5 micron from a 80 micron diametered pivot. And for my English friends, that would be like taking off a tenth off of a 4 thousandths diameter shaft. So when I purchased this online, I didn't realize that they came hand-driven like this, so I was quite excited and surprised when I found that, and I learned that by getting into the Watch Repair's Manual by Henry B. Fried. It's a absolute must-have if you get into this, but in the book it explains how it works. You can see a quick graphic now of holding on to a, looks to be like a third wheel maybe, and we're going to recondition the tips of the axles, otherwise known as the pivots. So this tool is meant to work on a variety of sizes, but unfortunately we do have a little bit of surface corrosion that we'll take care of in just a bit. But as I just bought this, I am simply going to take it apart, recondition it, put it back together. So when this is working, A would be the pivot, B is your burnisher, and C is your runner. Now the reason you want to do that is you can see in the top and in the bottom, you want to make sure that your pivot shaft is completely cylindrical. You don't want a cone or a taper as you saw there. And so that's what these runners do, these very special tubes, as they hold the pivot, allowing you to burnish it accurately and squarely, which is important. Now, one portion of the runner that typically breaks is under this thimble cap. Let's take a look, and yeah, this looks good. This is a very thin section used to hone the length of a pivot to a very specific size. So one side is not damaged. Very nice, very good. Let's get a look at that under the microscope here. Yeah, a little dirty, but that's to be expected. And you can see the different sizes, holes drilled in there for different size pivots. Let's check out this other runner. Quite tight on there, but to be expected, and yeah, that looks good too. All right, we're 2 for 2 so far. That's fantastic. And again, it's amazing to me that this part was made manually without the aid of computer programming and modern equipment. It's absolutely amazing. So here is our pivot measuring tool. This will help us set up the Jacot tool to make sure that we do select the correct runners and other items to make sure that we do a good job here. So the way this works is you can see in the lower left-hand corner there, that gap that's growing. You will slide your pivot into that gap, and where it stops is your diameter. And here's the burnisher that came with my kit. It looks different than the other ones I've seen, but I'm happy to give it a go and excited to try it. Next we have these centers, and to the naked eye they look like they just have a standard point on the end, but they don't. They have a small hole to accept pivots. But the machining quality on this is just unbelievable. The way that feels. And I'm not quite sure if you heard that or not, but it's incredible. That's a true nice slip fit. And as we described a second ago, here's what those tips look like under the microscope. As you can see, there's a small hole in the end to accept different size pivots. Amazing. The reason burnishing is so important in watchmaking is that a burnished pivot is going to be harder because as we burnish, we will slightly work harden the surface of the pivot, as well as making it smooth to reduce friction, which increases our amplitude, and also it helps us achieve extreme accuracy, which again helps with the overall quality of the watch. So under the microscope again, you can see that every diameter is stamped with its size, and this would have been C in that earlier graphic we had earlier. So that's the portion that holds up and squares up the pivot, allowing you to do the work that we described earlier. So now I'm removing the headstock here with drive dog attachments. These little fingers, that's what I would call them. That's quite interesting and exciting there. A little different than the work holding I'm used to, but I do believe that will do the job. Starting on the tailstock side, I'm going to remove the locking screw. Yeah, here we go. It's just, the parts just feel different when they're handmade. It's hard to describe, but you can definitely feel and sense a difference. Everything looks good here, not too much surface corrosion, and again that nice slip fit. So this tool was created by William Jacot. This particular one was produced by Steiner at the time, indicated by the rooster emblem on the cover. And today, Steiner is owned by Horia, still making wonderful high-end watchmaking equipment. I wasn't able to date this particular lathe. There was no inscriptions or anything on it. So I'm being extra careful on this disassembly here. Most of these screws are very, very tight. I had to use a different type of screwdriver than normal for that first you've seen there. The last thing you want to do is snap one of these little screws scratch the surface. A good watchmaker tries to not leave any traces that he has repaired anything. So I'm trying to do the same here. Again, as this is a highly precise tool, 5 microns is unbelievably small. So coming apart pretty smooth so far here, but I did make a mistake. So this, I'm going to call it drive mechanism on the bottom. It was extremely tight. I tried with my fingers, I tried everything to get some movement out of it. And I stared at this tool for hours and hours before making a video, and I feel a slipping. I felt that before. I know that there's a screw. I'm not going to snap it. And here's the damage I just did under the microscope. Yeah, that was a big mistake there. I should have known better because there is a little screw on the bottom here. But that's okay. I'll be able to buff that out and no one will see it, so we won't tell anybody. So that was the last screw holding in the drive mechanism. And now we will remove the drive mechanism. We're going to definitely be reusing this drawstring handle. It's quite beautiful and it feels good in the hand. So after pulling back the string a little bit to uncoil it, I was able to remove it. And here you go. Most of these that I've seen are bow driven. And this is the first that I've personally seen of this drawstring type. So we have a torsion spring that returns the thimble back where it should go, but the linear spring on the right side, I'm not exactly sure what that does just yet. But again, the precision is just incredible. So here we have it. Here's the engine. So I will remove this string, and I haven't decided if I'm going to replace it or not. It feels like there's some type of a coating on that string, and I think if you were to use a standard one, the fluff will just collect down there in the bottom. So it might even be worth using some fishing line or something. I don't know. That probably wasn't available back then. That could be a good alternative here. We'll have to play around with it and see. Leave any comments down below if you do know anything about that. And this was quite difficult. I had to dress a completely new screwdriver just to do this job here. It's a flat screwdriver on about a 15-degree angle, which isn't easy to do. A hex key with a ball attachment on the end would have made light work of this. However, oh, this thing is slippery. And maybe that's something I can do. I can replace that with to make my life easier for me in the future. We'll see. And here we go. Here's this headstock adjustment staff. Again, very cool. Knowing this was set up and turned by a manual machinist is just awesome. There's a little bit of corrosion there. We'll get that taken care of. Onto the accurate bit. Nice cross hatch there. Polished to a perfect size. And there's our nice knurl. Yeah, knowing somebody had to engage a thread knot, really pay attention, and to me, as best I can tell, it looks like he only took maybe 5 cuts on this. 3 big roughing and maybe 2 finishing. But anyway, we're going to get this thing all cleaned up, get it put back together for you. But I'm extremely excited for this. I think it's going to take some time to learn, but let's get this thing shined up, looking like new again. Yeah, thank you, whoever touched this probably 50 years ago and left some nasty fingernail stains. But I think a little bit of baking soda and vinegar will take care of that on the brass side. On the metal side, I'm going to try to use some rust remover for the first time, and we'll see how that goes. So now I'm removing the drive dog from the headstock here. And here's a view of that under the microscope. So I'm not sure if you're supposed to always use 2 legs or 1. I think it would probably work either way. Again, a little bit of experimentation will be needed for that. And this part seems to be reversible, too. I think you can change the position or the height of those drive dogs. So, great. Ready for cleaning. So here we have it, all disassembled, ready to go. Ah, beautiful. And thanks again for sticking with me to the end. Make sure you like and subscribe so you can catch the next video when I put this thing together and put it to use. Thanks again.